everybody. I'm outside, as you can tell. Someone that we know and love is feeling a bit under the weather. So I am outside the emergency room and just here for support and to make sure that she knows that I am here. And I've got a little bit of time on my hands. So I figure that I will say a few things. I know that my glasses are getting fogged up because of the mask. Oh wow, it's bad. Let me take them off. Is this better? I think it's better. Okay, let me put this somewhere safe. Okay, this mask is pretty, but it really doesn't always do the job. But it's the first one I saw when I was leaving the house, and so here I am. Okay, here we go. A few things. Today or tomorrow, I am going to post up a video, a YouTube video. I know that a lot of you all do not know of Iyanla Van Zant. She does Iyanla Fix My Life, and she's written quite a few self-help books over the last 20 or 25 years. She has this show where she takes a family or an individual and she helps them get to a better place both internally and in their exterior praxis. I like what she does. I don't agree with all of it. She's a lot more confrontational than I am. But at the end of the day, there are some great things to be able to learn. This one is important because it touches on what we do and who we are as a community in a lot of different ways. If anyone could let me know whether or not I could be heard, that would be terrific. I hope I can be. In any case, one of the things that it talks about a lot is the dynamics between parents, and that includes parents-in-law, mothers-in-law, and daughters-in-law, and how we comport ourselves within those relationships, any fraught relationship. Add to that, it's a cross-racial relationship. The mother is white from Germany, the daughter-in-law is black, and add to it the idea that the mother has some real issues in the way the daughter parents her children, and there's also the, well, I almost said cross-contamination, but let's call it something else. The cross-relational, what we might call an object relations theory, the lines between mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law and husband, mother and son. All of those things tangle in together. One of the things that we need to be able to see in the video when we drop it is how everything comes together. That no relationship, even a dyadic relationship, exists in a vacuum. The other thing, and for our purposes, there are two main things that I want you to see. One of leadership team, I think it was Kristen, suggested to me that I actually suggest that you look at the video twice. One, to look at this element. And this element is basically every single losing strategy that Terry Real ever talked about. You will see retaliation. You will see offending from the victim position. You will see needing to be right. You will see withdrawal. All of these things that add up to toxic relationships. Add to that the layer of race. The idea that when we talk about race, these losing strategies, which can be true of any relationship. I'm going to try to take myself out of shadow. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's getting dark in San Diego, that's why. Any relationship can have the losing and winning strategies. Don't forget that Terry Real came up with losing strategies and winning strategies in dyadic romantic relationships. And we adapt them for our use and for our purposes. So when you're looking at the losing strategies, you want to be able to see all of these things and to be able to look at what Iyanla is giving you through the lens of what Iyanla wants to show you. And that is how passive aggressiveness and how white lady violence, because that's what we're talking about here, can be absolutely destructive. It can be every bit as bad as if the mother had just hauled off and slapped the daughter-in-law in the face. One of the things that you're also going to see is plausible deniability, because you will see Rita, the mother, say over and over again, that's not what I meant, that's not what I said. And Iyanla has the advantage of having both the manifesto that the German woman wrote, and I think this is yikes. I think this is very important to note. It was the mother who wrote into Iyanla. It was the mother who wanted this interruption, this disruption, this intervention into that family's life, because she was so convinced that she was in the right and that the problem was the daughter-in-law. You're going to see more in my commentary that I'm going to put on top of it, but Iyanla correctly diagnosed the problem as not being immediately between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. She saw the problem with the mother-in-law and the son. And it's a quick pivot to race when we look at that. So often, particularly with people of color, black women in particular, we are always seen as the presenting problem. The problem is something that black women either are or are not doing, and even if people are willing to concede that things were done to us, they're always looking for a reason to absolve themselves and to make the black woman complicit in her own oppression. This was happening here, and Iyanla calls that right out, which I think is amazing. Secondly, though, more importantly, when we look at race, if you think of the mother as the antagonist, and there's no question that she is, and the son as you. So in the commentary that I wrote that I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking with before we post off, because I've got some time on my hands, but not a lot of light, so we'll see how we do. Anyway, I asked you to locate yourself in two ways. So you're going to see me ask you to locate yourself in two ways. First, locate yourself in Rita, the mother-in-law. And then I want you to use your fictive imagination and locate yourself in the daughter. I think it's this kind of muscular empathy, which is what we talk about when we talk about fictive imagination, that is going to be so very important. I am also going to add, I want you to locate yourself in Chris, the son, because that is where a lot of white people in general, white women in particular, find themselves. Because Chris has been silent for 7 years. Chris has allowed this behavior to continue. Chris has watched his wife suffer and has done little to nothing. There are reasons for it, good reasons, and you'll see them in this part 1. But I want you to think about, regardless of the pain that Chris has endured, and there was pain, that he did choose to stand by his wife. And there were some places where he most definitely dropped the ball. So I want you to look at it from that perspective. And then, and you can blame Kristen for this because she's the one that suggested that we view it twice, then I want you to go back and look at it again. But this time, I want you to focus on the relationship between Iyanla herself and Rita the mother. Now this is a very easy pivot. I mean, if we were talking figure skating, it would be a very easy double Lutz. Am I right or am I right? Basically, I want you to look at how she responds to Iyanla, both as the resident expert and also in terms of the directions that she was given. Even before Iyanla pointed it out, I was struck at how resistant she was to follow Iyanla's process. I don't want to give away too much because I want you to be able to come to your own conclusions, but you will see that there's an easy pivot here. Iyanla will suggest one thing, and she would either do more of it, she'll add an element or two because she didn't think Iyanla thought it through enough, so she was going to help her, or she subtracted the pieces part she decided she didn't want to do. Does that feel familiar at all? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So we are going to ask you to look at it twice, and we're actually going to have 2 conversations running. Basically, the conversation where you're looking at it more or less straight, no chaser, where you're looking at basically white women behavior schemas and tropes. You're looking at the dyadic and triadic relationships, and you're locating yourself in all 3 major players. And in fact, if you want extra credit, there's no such thing as extra credit, but if you wanted extra credit, I would also add the 4th participant in this exercise, which is the daughter-in-law's mother. So there's actually 4 ways that you can look at it. And if we were looking at object relations theory, if we were looking at family systems theory, we could chew on this for an entire semester. And then once you're done with that and you've digested it and you've commented and you've responded to 2 other comments, then I want you to go back and read it and listen to it again. I wish there was a transcript of it. I want you to go back and listen to it again, this time looking specifically at the relationship between Miss von Zandt and Rita, the German mother. I want you to locate yourself in both of them. I want you to be able to see how Ianla was able to stay in the car with a problematic person. I want you to look and see how Rita wanted to change the interior of the car before she'd stay in it. We've all had passengers in the car that want something other than what it is. They want to change our presets on our music, right? I don't like KPBS, I want KGB. They want, it's either too hot or too cold, or they want to move the seat up or down, or they either want breeze or they don't want breeze. There's always something. There's always something that keeps them from being fully present in the car with you. And by the time one of 2 things happens, either they get what they want and now the car is to their liking, but you're uncomfortable, either too hot or too cold, or you're listening to classic rock when you wanted to watch Morning Edition, or they don't get what they want and they sulk. And there is nothing like being in a car with someone who is sulking. They're not present with you. You are not going to have a decent conversation with them. They are so concerned with the fact that they didn't get what they want in the way that they wanted, in the amount that they wanted, that true communion is impossible. So one way to think of it is the conditions by which the passenger says that he or she will stay in the car. And also if we want to extend this metaphor to the breaking point, and I do, how sometimes there is resentment because the person on the passenger side wants to be in the driver's seat. And we see this a lot when it comes to prescriptions and theories and suggestions for anti-racism or racial equity work. People come in thinking they know everything there is to know. Well, let me tell you, here's another example that just came to my head. 2 years ago, I was tired of throwing money into my 2005 Santa Fe, which still runs, but it's a 2005 Santa Fe, and there's no way you wouldn't be able to tell. And I went and I bought a year-old Santa Fe. It was a 2018, but it was made in 2017, so I got a really good deal. No Lamborghini for Lacey. But in any case, I chose to get a Santa Fe, and I was looking at other ones, like a used CRV, or a used, what's the Toyota one? Not the Highlander, the RAV4. I was looking at Chevrolets. I was looking at the Ford Escape, and I wound up choosing the Santa Fe because I figured it would be less of a learning curve. I mean, here I am driving a 15-year-old car, right? So if I got the Santa Fe, basically it would just be turnkey. Turns out that's not actually true. There was a learning curve because a 2018 vehicle is a lot different than a 2005 vehicle. Let's pivot to race for a moment. White people are still driving 2005 Santa Fe's, and sometimes, and we have seen this on the boards. I'm going to swipe you guys away. I'll read everything later, I promise. People aren't even driving 2005s, right? They take one ethnic studies class in 1998 or 1981 or 1972, and they think that they are completely up to speed. And they are going to, and they do. We see it all the time in the community. People telling me exactly what I should be doing, where I'm doing it wrong, how to do it right. And by the way, they know everything there is to know. And if black people would just appreciate them more, racism would be gone. You need to stop driving the 2005 Santa Fe. There are some things that it's good for. I mean, if nothing else, it's for your own comfort. I mean, that doesn't have one of those nifty backup cameras that have saved me more times than I want to admit over the last 2.5 years. But it also lacks, and this is crucial for this illustration, it also lacks crucial and critical safety features that the 2018 has. It's one thing for me to drive that 2005 if I want to pick up a load of bricks or put some paint in the car, right? That's basically what I use it for. It's a hauler. But I wouldn't put any of you in the 2005 Santa Fe. It's not safe. It's not as safe. If I want you to have a safe-ish experience, I'm going to put you in the 2018. That's what white people need to remember. That they're driving outdated machinery, that they have outdated ideas and schemas and tropes about race that need to be confronted, and then they need to get to the dealership in Kearney Mesa and get a new Santa Fe. Or a RAV4, or a Chevy Traverse. I'm not going to tell you what to get, but I think that in this case, most of the time, newer is indeed better. So we're going to put this out. I don't know how much I can do from my phone while I'm outside the hospital. And by the way, I did not ask permission if I could share who was there, but someone that we know and love is there, and I am here for the duration. I've got both phones charged up, I've got my jacket on, and I've got pomegranate soda, which happens to be her favorite. So I am out here for the duration, so you guys have to get used to me. I'm going to do a couple of more videos, probably at least one guidelines video, and yes, I'm going to do the ask. I have not done the ask, and I will say this very quickly. This is the first month I have taken a formal salary for my work here at Lace on Race, and it's also the first month we have not met expectations or goals. We are at about 2/3 of goal, and so even though I hate, and I do mean, I absolutely hate doing the ask, I'm going to have to do the ask. And I hope that those of you who are sustainers or sustainers in training who have yet to fulfill your commitments will. Maybe this can just be the ask. No, I need to do a separate standalone ask because I'm going to have to answer to admin chat. And for those of you who do consume the content and consider yourselves part of the community, that you step up. Not just the usual suspects, but we have 10,000 of you. And we should be able to make short work of the rest of this season. I hesitate saying it, but I did take a risk. And a real one, in choosing to fly solo starting this month. And I am walking in faith that you all will be able to carry me and hold this community well. We are going to be doing our version of Giving Tuesday, which I will talk about more in the ask. I am running out of light, so I'm going to let go of this one and go right into the ask. And again, thank you for your graciousness. We will be running this ask every day if I have the courage to do it. Or if Danielle allows me to let her press the button. I see her there. I should have done this ask last week, but I hate doing it. I hate doing it. And it takes a little out of me every time. So I'm going to do the ask. It'll be quick and dirty, and I'll do a written ask either here, sitting here by the hospital, or when I get home. Thank you guys so much. As soon as I can, I'm going to post up the video from YouTube for Jan Levanzant, Fix My Life, and I hope that all of you guys do parts 1 and part 2 because they're equally important. We know that we are asking a lot of you in terms of Oh my gosh, you're asking me to watch a 45-minute video twice. Well, you guys have done Krista Tippett, and Krista Tippett is about an hour. And I think it's important to be able to look at this video both ways. And so I am trusting that a significant percentage of you will indeed choose to look at both of them, comment on both of them, respond to both of them. We all want to do the work of racial justice. Oh, if I do it like this, I get a little bit more light. Okay, I'll just keep my hand up. We all want to do the work of racial justice, and guess what? You can't do it in a 10-second meme sometimes. Sometimes it takes more than a couple of paragraphs, and it takes more than something on the funky end of snarky to get your attention. I am asking more of you than some of you feel comfortable with. I know this. I'm asking anyway. I love you all. Let me hang up on this one so I can go right into the next one. On to the ask. Okay, here we go.